Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching The Walking Dead Dead City, I think episode 4? Is that where we're at? Are we at episode 4? I don't know. Either way, I just finished watching it and I definitely want to talk about it. And as you guys may have been following, the small amount of you who are watching these videos, I have been trying every week to film in a new location of sorts, because where I'm at in the summers, I spend my time in a shore town. So when I'm there, my nephews are in the house, so it gets very loud. So you know what? It started as out of necessity, and now it's like, I just want to find cool locations to film. Today, I went to one that I thought was really cool, and as soon as I walked into it, I got attacked by bugs. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing 10 minutes here. There's no way. It was a cool location though. It looked sick, but it wasn't worth it. The juice was just not worth the squeeze. But you know what was worth the squeeze? This episode. This was a good episode again. I really don't have a lot of complaints. I love where it ended up, and I like what that meant and that moral dilemma that happened in it. But yeah, so this episode was really about rations of Dead City. What happens is, you know what's weird, by the way? The one thing that I do think is a little weird about this episode, after the split thing that happens in the episode prior with the earthquake where the ground splits, they don't address that at all. That's not even I don't even remember if that's a word in the episode. It may have been in the very beginning because of rations or so. Well, actually, sorry, what am I saying? The whole thing is about that. The whole thing is about that collapsing, but they don't really address how they got out of that situation. It just kind of moved past it, is what I mean. So yes, the whole thing, the rationing because of the earthquake that happened, the sinkhole that opened. Anyway, that's the whole point of it. And what they have to do is, because they're assuring power into the city, they're like, okay, we need to ration food, but you're going to have 24/7 power. Because that's the promise that Renata and Maggie made to the whole community, who is up in arms about this, by the way. They have to go on a mission to round up all of the walkers that are in the Empire State Building, which I guess at the start of the outbreak is where they stored all the walkers, which is cool. I'm all for that. I used to literally get off my PATH train every morning and walk right past that building. So it's like, it's cool. Anyway, whatever. They have to round up all the walkers that are in the Empire State Building so that they could use them for the methane. And that's the whole that's the whole, thesis of the episode, really. There's other things that go on, but that was the whole thing. So they have to recruit their best people to go out there and actually get the walkers. And the way they do it, the only complaint I have about this episode, other than some cheesy moments or some stale acting or whatever, the only real complaint I had about this episode was that goofy fucking montage they had when they were picking the people that were going to go, and they had these one-off shots of them. You know what it looked like? You know what it looked like? Have you ever seen a young filmmaker who films lacrosse teams for high school or whatever, and they have those really cool epic shots of the guy holding the lacrosse stick? It literally looked like that. I was like, dude, what the fuck was that? Whose creative choice was that? That looked goofy in an episode of The Walking Dead. But I digress. Whatever. They have this whole montage thing of all the people, the firefighter in New York, the porn star, what the fuck was that? That was so stupid and so goofy. And that was the one moment I always come back to it, and I always say it. If I'm immersed in a story, I don't care if there's shit in it. That was the one moment where I did kind of care, because that was just weird. I didn't like that. But then the rest of the episode pulled me back in fully. So after they go and do that, they obviously have a little bit of drama there where someone almost dies, but they end up getting all the walkers in. And after that, they party, and Maggie and Negan have this dialogue exchange that genuinely was very great. It was actually the shot from the trailers that we got of Maggie touching Negan's face that I was apoplectic about, because I thought it meant a relationship. Sorry, I think it's just a little bright in here. Is that better? Is that better? It might be a little, whatever. Anyway, sorry, I'm OCD. I'm looking at my screen. I got zebras all over the fucking place. Anyway, you guys probably don't even know what that means. The scene happens where, Maggie was touching Negan's face. That scene happened in this episode. And obviously, as you guys know, I was up in arms about that happening because I thought it was going to be like them romantic. Now, there was a level of flirtation in there, but honestly, it was actually, I think, the best in a long time that the dialogue has genuinely been between Maggie and Negan. Like, genuinely. I have no complaints about it. I actually like it because Negan is really, like, trying to, like, you know, have fun with Maggie. Maggie's having fun with Negan. They're bullshitting, and then Negan addresses something that I think is objectively very true. If this wasn't the case, and their situation wasn't the case, in another life, they would have been friends. Maggie doesn't agree. Like, she doesn't say yes to that, but you could tell she agrees with that. And she even has to stop and say, like, yeah, but in another life, like, and he's like, yeah, in another life, which I liked. Their dialogue was just honestly on point. This is going to sound fucking nuts, and I do not want it to go this way. Let me be clear before I say this. But when you have dialogue like this between these two characters, and you could tell that the story's healing from the bullshit that season 1 and 2 were, mainly season 2, season 1 was okay, I can get behind them getting closer and closer. Do I want to see them in a relationship? No, I do not. However, if dialogue and their character arcs continue in that way, I think it becomes a little bit easier of a mighty big nasty pill to swallow. And swallow it, you most certainly motherfucking will. You know the line? Okay, that was stupid. That was ridiculous. Hear me out before you come at me with pitchforks. I still do not think they should ever go that way. What I am getting at is this is a clear sign in the right direction for good writing. Yes, there are goofy moments that happen here and there, but as far as getting our characters to certain arcs and getting them to come together after years of everything that's gone on with them, I can't complain. I can't complain. I think this is good. And I can understand why people are a little more open to the idea. And I think all it took for me to feel slightly more this way is good dialogue and good writing. And this was good dialogue and good writing. Again, I still objectively can't get behind that idea. However, again, I'll say it for like the 5th time, the page should dictate everything. And if the page is written well, I think you could justify your stories that way. Like, you could justify with the proof being in the pudding of good writing. I'm going off way too much on this tangent. I hope you know what I'm saying. I don't want them to get together, but I like this arc that they're exploring in the writing. Anyway, so they have that moment, and then afterwards it's revealed somewhere along the way that Renata sees that guy stole some of the rations, so she makes him apologize in front of everyone. He's apoplectic about this. And this is another example in my mind of good writing, because you know when a character, in The Walking Dead specifically, The Walking Dead is the worst with this, when a character feels like they want to do something bad to someone in our community, they kind of have this like Scooby-Doo, like sort of, I'm killing you, like, I don't know how to describe it, like, it gets very like, what the fuck, out of nowhere. What I liked about this episode is, obviously we know where it goes with what happens with Negan, we'll get there, but this felt natural, and I think they just had a good actor for this. The guy who was acting in this episode honestly did a good job to the point where it was never like cheesy or goofy or weird. His logic, despite him being a little more mad than I think most people would be about him getting caught for stealing rations and like being against Maggie for leaving the bricks, which I still don't really understand why he had a problem with that. Anyway, the writing was good enough where it kind of felt like, oh, this, if someone was in the apocalypse, they'd be this way. He never outright said he was going to kill Maggie. It was heavily insinuated that that's what was going to happen, but he was angry. Anyone who's angry gets certain ways. So it didn't feel like he was like over the top bombastic. It felt human. And I think that's the best way I could describe what's going on this season, is things feel like they should feel. You know what, I'll just say it here. As I'm watching this episode, as I've been watching this season, we're going to come back to what I was just talking about, but as I watch this episode, as I've watched this season, I really do genuinely feel like this is what The Walking Dead should have always been. After the main series, I've said it in a lot of my reviews, but after the main series, after that, these are the kind of stories we should have been getting from the beginning. I don't understand how a franchise that was just bought or entered a fantastic deal with Netflix, I don't understand how it's taken many creatives, many different showrunners, many writers to get this right. These apocalypse stories, rebuilding civilization, that's what this show should have always been. I don't understand how we get literally Scooby-Doo villains in the Dama and the Croat. I don't understand that. How does that come out of The Walking Dead? How does that come out of a franchise with so much money? That's why I was so harsh in it. That's why I was always so harsh on it. It's because they can't nail the fucking story. This is nailing the fucking story. This is how you nail a story. I'm genuinely so glad that we are actually getting a good season of The Walking Dead that feels canon. Like, it feels right. It feels good. Yes, there are really goofy moments like that montage in the beginning of the episode. There's still goofy moments interspersed throughout that is not, I would say, of the same quality that the main series is. But at large, this premise of the show that we're getting, this season, this story arc, is exactly what we should be getting. This is exactly what we should be getting. So I can only applaud it. It's honestly getting better. I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, back to the point I'm making, about the guy. Even though we don't really know for a fact if he was going to kill Maggie, Renata, and all of them, he heavily implies it. He has a gun. Negan catches the gun. They're talking at a bar because he comes in to drink, and Negan sees him with the guns. He's inventing, so they talk. Anyway, Negan starts to feel that he is going to kill Maggie. So he breaks, excuse me. Oh my God. Holy crap. Jeez. Anyway, he breaks, someone's biking right by me. Jesus. Okay, I'm not cutting because I don't feel like editing. What I'm getting at is Negan breaks a glass bottle over the guy's head because he's heavily implying that he's going to kill them. And then he points the gun at his head. As this is going on, Negan's screaming at him saying, "You don't threaten Maggie, you don't threaten all of this, like blah, blah, blah." He's getting really, really pissed. As that's happening, Renata walks in. Renata tries to talk him down, and in a move that actually surprised me too, Negan just pulled the trigger and killed him. I thought that was a interesting move for the character in an interesting way, because so I'm fully on Negan's side of this equation. We're in an apocalypse. We're not in regular times. If someone in a place where there is no law, if someone is walking around with a gun in their pocket saying they're going to kill the leader and Renata and put other people in the ground, kill him. Just get rid of him. Just kill him. That's a threat. Kill him. Renata is genuinely a pussy for that. I understand she is trying to build up the Manhattan. I understand that. I completely do. And that means you got to do things with peace. You got to operate and think politically and blah, blah, blah. I understand that. But there's also a time and place for everything. If he is walking the part, talking the part, didn't say he was going to do it, but in every which way did, kill him. Just get rid of him. I'm fully on Negan's side, but Renata is now going to come back because she tried to arrest Negan with the cavalry. And you can tell Negan is upset about this because not only did he kill the guy out of anger, the bullet went through and killed one of Dillard's walkers, which is going to have a ramification. Jesus, my voice keeps going. Which is going to have a ramification on Dillard. So that's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But Negan's going to hold himself into the bar and essentially have a shootout. I thought that was a little goofy. Like, you don't need to come to that conclusion. Act like adults about I mean, someone did die. I don't know how much acting like adults can be. But I don't understand how Renata does not fully grasp that situation. It does feel dumb for her not to understand that what Negan did was essentially necessary. I don't understand that. That is a little weird. I'm not on board with that. But yeah, I don't know. So that's where the episode leaves. We leave on the cliffhanger. Negan is going to be in the bar. Maggie doesn't know about this, but I do have a feeling that Maggie's going to be on Negan's side of this, despite her wanting peace and wanting to rebuild civilization. This was a real threat that could have had real ramifications, especially if he was drinking. You got to get rid of the problem. Yes, he was a guy with kids and blah, blah, blah. I understand that completely. And also there's a parallel where he killed another father with the kids being really young. I understand all that. I really do. But also, he's 100% justified in what he did. So, yeah, I don't know. I loved this episode. There was goofy moments. I'm loving this season. Genuinely loving this season. This is, I think, now a contender for... Not a contender. I mean, this is my favorite season so far of any of the spinoffs. And again, I'm not comparing this to Dexter Season 4. I'm not comparing this to the fucking Shawshank Redemption. This is the best for The Walking Dead. It's still, I would argue, like B tier, like B movie style, not like B, the Buzz B, but like B tier style show. It's not really that great. It's still kind of soap opera-y, blah, blah, blah. But in its category, I really thoroughly enjoyed this. This is probably my favorite spin-off season. It's hard to compare it with The Ones Who Live, because The Ones Who Live was like that was event television that you kind of had to see. So it's hard for me to like consider that in the same like spin-off category. That's more of like a true continuation that needed to happen. If we're talking purely Dead City, Tales, Daryl Dixon, all of that shit that's come out, whatever the other one was, that piece of shit show, this is by far my favorite spinoff. Fear the Walking Dead, by the way, as well. This is my favorite spinoff season. 100% so far, but I know we're early into it. We still have time, and I know the next episode is going to be that what if style episode if everything was normal, which contextually, in terms of where we're at in the story and what we had just got with that conversation with Maggie and Negan talking about in another life they would have been friends, I'm actually really excited to see that. I know Beth is going to be in that episode, so that's exciting. But man, it's so weird for me to say that I feel like The Walking Dead is, in a sense, back. Like, this feels like how The Walking Dead should have consistently been, but it just hasn't been. Daryl Dixon is good. It has Daryl, so it has that, but it doesn't really feel Walking Dead-y. Like, that feels like Ride with Norman Reedus, but it's Daryl. You know what I mean? This feels like The Walking Dead, and I'm loving it. And I'm even loving, by the way, I didn't even get to this. I'm yapping today. I love where Hershel's story is going. It's so funny. When Seth Hoffman came in, he was fully like, cut that story, cut that story, cut that story, cut that story. Because all of season 2's stories were fucking dog shit. All of them. So they got rid of the Dama. They got rid of that story arc with him being friends with the Dama entirely. Thank God, because that made no sense. They got rid of the Croat, which hit or miss. I like the Croat a little bit, but I think he needed to go to get to the better part. They got rid of the whole like stupid villain arc of Dead City that was so stupid. I want to use a word that's even stronger, but I'm not going to do that. It's so dumb. Anyway, they got rid of all that. They got rid of Hershel's stupid drama. They got rid of Maggie being all angry all the time, to the point where I actually like Maggie as a character more than I ever have in terms of the show. She's actually developing, which I like. Negan doesn't feel like he's just constantly apologizing and like, down anymore, which I like. Everything, they literally just put everything on the chopping block and almost were like, let's just reset Dead City entirely. And they did. And it's literally working because Hershel drew a mural for Louise's, or spray painted a mural for Louise's wife who died, I guess you could say, in the hospital, which was nice. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see development with these characters and them going places, and we're getting it. They're listening. I love it. I'd love to hear from you guys. I can't believe I'm saying this much positive stuff about a Walking Dead spin-off season. It's honestly, I'm so glad. But anyway, I want to hear from you guys. How did you feel about it? Do you feel the same? Do you feel differently? Let me know down in the comments. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.